The year was 2157. Humans had spread beyond Earth to build homes on the red sands of Mars and beneath the icy surface of Europa. It was a time of great pride for the species that had once been confined to a single blue planet. Major Jack Caldwell stood at the main viewport of Earth Defense Station Alpha, his eyes fixed on the endless black of space. At 42, Jack had spent most of his adult life protecting Earth and its colonies. His short brown hair was starting to gray at the temples, a fact his daughter never failed to point out during their weekly video calls. "Major, I'm picking up something unusual," said Lieutenant Kevin Ward from the sensor station. "It's big and it's approaching from beyond Neptune's orbit." Jack moved quickly to Kevin's station. The young lieutenant's fingers danced across the holographic display, enhancing the distant signal. "Definitely not one of ours," Jack said, his voice calm despite the rush of adrenaline, and moving too precisely to be a natural object. He pressed a button on his wrist communicator. "This is Major Caldwell. I need Lieutenant Martinez to report to the command center immediately." Olivia Martinez was the station's top expert in potential alien languages and communication. At 34, she had developed most of the theoretical frameworks for how humans might speak with non-Earth intelligences. She had often joked that her skills would never be used. Today, that joke had ended. Olivia arrived 5 minutes later, slightly out of breath. Her dark eyes widened as Jack pointed to the sensor readings. "Is that what I think it is?" she asked. Jack nodded. "We're about to have visitors, and they're not from around here." They watched in silence as the object came closer. It was unlike any ship humans had built, smooth, with curves that seemed to bend in impossible ways. It slowed as it approached, Earth orbit, making no aggressive moves. "We need to contact United Space Command," Jack said, "and prepare for first contact." Within hours, Director Frank Cooper of the United Space Command had arrived at the station. A tall man with a commanding presence. Frank had once been a field officer before politics had pulled him into leadership. "What's our status?" Frank asked as he entered the command center. "The vessel is maintaining position just beyond lunar orbit," Jack reported. "No hostile actions. They've begun broadcasting a repeating signal." Frank turned to Olivia. "Lieutenant Martinez, what can you tell me about the signal?" Olivia looked up from her workstation. "It's definitely artificial and contains mathematical sequences that couldn't occur naturally. I believe it's a hello. They're waiting for us to respond." "Then let's not keep them waiting," Frank said. "Prepare a response using the first contact protocols." Olivia's team worked for 2 hours, crafting a message that used universal mathematical principles and simple imagery. When they sent it, the response was almost immediate. "They want to dock with our station," Olivia said, excitement clear in her voice. Frank looked uncertain. "Are we sure that's wise?" "If they wanted to harm us, they could have done so already," Jack pointed out. "Their technology is clearly more advanced than ours." After a brief discussion with Earth's leaders, permission was granted. The alien ship extended a docking tube that somehow adjusted itself to fit perfectly with the station's airlock. Jack, Olivia, and Frank stood waiting as the inner door prepared to open. Security officers stood nearby, weapons ready but pointed downward in a non-threatening position. When the door opened, they got their first look at members of the Galactic Alliance. 3 beings entered the station. The leader stood nearly 7 feet tall with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer slightly. Its 4 arms moved with grace and its large eyes blinked sideways rather than up and down. "I am Ambassador Zorn of the Viridian people," it said, the words somehow translated through a small device it carried. "We represent the Galactic Alliance, a union of 17 sentient species." Frank stepped forward. "I am Director Cooper of Earth's United Space Command. We welcome you to Earth." The meeting moved to the station's conference room, where Zorn explained that the Alliance had detected human space activity and decided it was time for contact. "Your species has progressed remarkably quickly," Zorn said. "From primitive flight to space colonies in less than 3 centuries. It is unusual." Jack noticed a hint of concern in the alien's voice. The 2 other aliens, introduced as scientific advisors, kept exchanging glances that suggested worry. "We are an adaptable species," Olivia said with a smile. We're eager to learn about our galactic neighbors. The conversation continued, with Zorn asking questions about human biology, psychology, and history. With each answer, the aliens seemed more troubled. You survived multiple global wars? And plagues that killed millions? One of the advisors asked. We did, Frank confirmed. Those were dark times, but we learned from them. And your bodies can heal from severe injuries? Without medical intervention? The other advisor asked. Jack nodded. To a degree. We're pretty tough. As the meeting progressed, a technician entered and whispered something to Frank. His face grew serious. Is something wrong? Zorn asked. Just a small power fluctuation in our defense grid, Frank said. Nothing to worry about. But the alien's reaction was immediate and alarming. All three stood up quickly. You have weapon systems active? Zorn asked, its voice higher pitched. Standard procedure, Jack explained. They're not aimed at you. But the damage was done. The aliens began backing toward the door. We must return to our vessel, Zorn said. Immediately. Despite Olivia's attempts to explain, the aliens departed in obvious haste. From the command center, they watched as the alien ship disconnected and moved away from Earth at incredible speed. What just happened? Frank asked. Olivia looked troubled. I think they're afraid of us. Jack moved to the sensor station. They're broadcasting something, a lot of something. Olivia analyzed the signals. They're sending warnings about us. She looked up, her face pale. They're describing humans as unpredictable and potentially hostile. Frank's expression hardened. Get me Earth Central Command. If these aliens have the wrong idea about us, we need to prepare for what might come next. As the station burst into our activity, Jack looked out at the stars. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries, contact with alien life. But instead of the beginning of friendship, it felt like the start of something much darker. The first contact had gone wrong. And now humanity would have to face whatever came next. 3 months had passed since the aliens left Earth in a hurry. The mood at United Space Command headquarters in Geneva was tense. Dr. Samantha Wright sat at her desk, surrounded by screens filled with alien language patterns. As Earth's leading expert in studying other cultures, she had been working day and night to understand the messages that Earth's deep space arrays had been picking up. I think I've got it, she said, pushing her blonde hair away from her tired eyes. She looked up at Director Frank Cooper, who stood nearby. The aliens aren't spreading lies about us. They're genuinely afraid. Frank frowned. Afraid of what? Our weapon systems were defensive only. Samantha shook her head. It's not our weapons they fear, it's us, humans. She pulled up several translated messages on the main screen. Look at these communications between their worlds. They keep using words like rapid healing, environmental adaptation, and unpredictable evolution. They're terrified of our biology, not our technology. Frank read through the translations with growing concern. That makes no sense. Why would advanced species fear our bodies? I need more information, Samantha said. These intercepted messages aren't enough. We need direct access to their knowledge bases. 2 weeks later, Commander Eric Nelson led a small team aboard the stealth ship Shadow toward an alien outpost near Jupiter. At 40, Eric was one of Earth's most experienced space operators. His mission was simple, but dangerous. Get close enough to access the alien communication network without being detected. Approaching target, said pilot Rita Diaz, keeping to the shadow of Ganymede. The alien outpost floated silently in space, a small monitoring station that the Alliance had left behind. Eric's team had discovered it a month earlier, but had kept their distance until now. Begin passive scanning, Eric ordered. No active sensors. Lieutenant Ben Flores, the team's tech specialist, connected their systems to capture data being transmitted to and from the outpost. I'm in their network. They have terrible security. For 6 hours, they downloaded everything they could. When they were done, they slipped away as quietly as they had arrived. Back at Earth, Samantha and her team worked through the stolen data. What they found shocked everyone. The species in the Galactic Alliance evolved differently than humans, Samantha explained to the Emergency Council meeting. Each species specialized for specific environments with minimal adaptability. She showed images of the different alien species. Their bodies are perfectly suited to their homeworlds, but they can't easily adapt to new conditions. They need special environments when they travel, and they heal very slowly, if at all. So what does that mean for us? Asked Vice President Sharon Lewis. It means, Samantha said, that they see us as almost supernatural. We can live in various environments. We can recover from injuries that would kill them. We can even develop immunity to diseases after exposure. To them, we're like something from a horror story, the creature that can't be stopped. The council room fell silent as everyone processed this information. There's more, Samantha continued. They're especially afraid because of how quickly we've advanced. Most species in the Alliance took thousands of years to develop space travel. We did it in decades. Meanwhile, near Saturn, Captain Lisa Donovan of the scout ship Curiosity was on a routine mapping mission when she spotted unusual activity. Without hesitation, she directed her ship closer. Definitely artificial structures, reported her sensor officer, Alan Peters. Matches nothing in our database. Lisa made a quick decision. Let's introduce ourselves. The Curiosity approached the alien mining operation slowly, broadcasting greetings on all frequencies. The response was immediate and unexpected. The aliens abandoned their equipment and fled in their ships. Lisa watched in confusion as the alien vessels disappeared into deep space. What did we do? She ordered her crew to examine the abandoned mining equipment. Be careful, but let's see what they left behind. Back on Earth, Lisa's report added to the growing picture. The aliens were so frightened of humans that they would abandon valuable equipment rather than risk contact. Commander Eric Nelson was preparing for another mission when Dr. Wright asked to see him. I found something disturbing in the data we collected, she said, showing him a series of communications. There's a faction within the Alliance that wants to take action against Earth, she explained. Led by someone named Zaltak of the Dravek species, they're arguing that humans are too dangerous to allow free expansion. Eric studied the information with a grim expression. They're talking about containment, or worse. In response to the growing threat, Earth governments united as never before. The United Earth government established a diplomatic team led by Ambassador Henry Johnson, a calm and thoughtful man with decades of diplomatic experience. We need to make contact again, Henry argued in the council meeting. But this time, we need to help them understand us better. With Dr. Wright's help, they crafted messages explaining human history and biology in terms the aliens might better understand. They emphasized humanity's desire for peaceful cooperation despite the differences between their species. After weeks of sending messages, they finally received a response. The Galactic Alliance would meet with human representatives at a neutral space station at the edge of the solar system. As Ambassador Johnson prepared his team, including Dr. Wright and Security Chief Major Paul Garcia, surveillance ships detected increased alien activity near Pluto. They're building up forces, Major Garcia reported. Not just diplomatic vessels. Ambassador Johnson looked troubled but determined. We still go, but we prepare for all possibilities. As their ship departed Earth orbit, most humans watched with hope and fear. First contact had gone badly. This second meeting would determine if humans could find a place among the stars, or if our very nature would make us enemies of all other intelligent life. Behind them, Earth's limited military fleet began quiet preparations. If diplomacy failed, humanity would fight for its right to exist no matter how terrifying other species found them. The human diplomatic ship Olive Branch approached the neutral space station with caution. Ambassador Henry Johnson stood on the bridge, watching the strange structure grow larger on the view screen. The station looked nothing like human designs. It had a spiral shape with odd bulges and curves that seemed to follow no pattern. Fascinating architecture, Henry said. At 62, he had seen many strange things in his diplomatic career, but nothing like this. Dr. Samantha Wright stood beside him. Their buildings reflect their biology. Notice how there are different sections, each is designed for a different alliance species. Major Paul Garcia, head of security, frowned. Which means they'll have the home advantage. Each area will be comfortable for them, but possibly dangerous for us. Henry nodded. We'll stay together and bring our environmental gear. The olive branch docked with the station. As the human team prepared to board, Paul checked his team's non-lethal weapons one last time. Remember, defensive posture only. We're here to make friends. When they entered the station, they were met by 3 different alien species. Ambassador Zorn of the Viridians was there, along with 2 others they hadn't met before. Welcome, Zorn said through a translator device. This is Council Member Krell of the Araxis and Ambassador Mila of the Tresson. Krell was short and stocky, with thick leathery skin and 4 eyes. Mila looked almost plant-like, with green skin and vine-like appendages instead of arms. Henry stepped forward. Thank you for meeting with us. We hope to clear up any misunderstandings from our first contact. They were led to a large meeting chamber. Along the way, Dr. Wright noticed how the aliens kept a careful distance from the humans. When Paul accidentally stepped too close to Krell, the alien flinched visibly. In the meeting room, each species sat in specially designed chairs. The humans were given standard seats that looked almost like Earth furniture. We have reviewed your messages, Zorn began. Your species is unusual to us, Henry smiled. We understand our biology seems strange to you, but our differences could be strengths if we work together. For the next 3 hours, Henry explained human history. He talked about how humans had spread across Earth, adapting to different climates. He described how human medicine had progressed, allowing people to recover from injuries and illnesses. With each example, the aliens seemed more uncomfortable. When Henry mentioned how humans had survived the Great Plague of the 2080s, Mila made a sound like rustling leaves that the translator didn't catch. You're saying your species lost 30% of its population, then developed immunity? Krell asked, all 4 eyes wide. Yes, Henry confirmed. It was a terrible time, but we survived and grew stronger. During a break in the talks, Paul pulled Henry aside. They're not warming up to us. If anything, they seem more frightened. Henry sighed. Keep trying. We need this alliance. Meanwhile, on the human ship, Intelligence Officer Karen Miller was monitoring Alliance communications. She had stayed behind to watch for any unusual activity. What she found alarmed her. Karen quickly sent a secure message to Paul's personal device. When he checked it during the break, his face darkened. Ambassador, Paul whispered to Henry. Miller has intercepted communications from a faction called the Dravek. Their leader, Supreme Commander Zaltak, is gathering a fleet. He's arguing for a preemptive strike against Earth. Henry's diplomatic face didn't change, but his eyes showed his concern. How strong is this faction? Strong enough to be dangerous, Paul replied. They command about 1/3 of the Alliance military forces. When the talks resumed, Henry changed his approach. Instead of focusing on human adaptability, he emphasized human creativity, art, and desire for peace. Our greatest strength isn't how we survive, Henry said. It's what we create when we're not just surviving. Music, art, literature, scientific discovery driven by curiosity rather than necessity. This approach seemed more effective. Mila especially appeared interested in human art, her vine-like appendages moving in what might have been excitement when Henry showed images of Earth's great paintings and sculptures. As the day ended, Zorn announced, "We will continue discussions tomorrow. Tonight we will report to the full Alliance Council." Back on their ship, the human team gathered to assess their progress. "They're still afraid of us," Samantha said, "but I think some of them are starting to see potential benefits of an alliance." Karen joined them, looking worried. "The Dravek fleet is on the move. They claim to be conducting exercises, but they're heading toward our solar system." Henry contacted Earth immediately. Director Frank Cooper's face appeared on the screen, looking grave. "We've detected their fleet," Frank confirmed. "Admiral Sullivan is preparing our defense forces, but we're outmatched in both numbers and technology. Keep The talk's going, Henry instructed. We need more time. The next morning, the human team returned to the station with a new plan. Samantha had worked through the night to prepare a detailed presentation about human biology that might ease the aliens' fears. Yes, we heal quickly, she explained to the alien delegation. But that same ability could benefit all species through medical research. We don't want to replace you or change you. We want to share knowledge. Councilmember Krell seemed skeptical. Your adaptability makes you dangerous. What prevents humans from taking over worlds that belong to others? Our ethics, Henry replied firmly. Our history has taught us that respecting differences leads to greater success than forcing compliance. As they talked, Paul received another alert from Karen. The Dravek fleet had accelerated. They would reach Mars in less than a day. Paul passed this information to Henry, who remained outwardly calm but quickly adjusted his strategy. We understand your concerns, Henry said to the alien delegation. But we need to address something urgent. We've detected a large fleet approaching our system. Is this official alliance business? The aliens looked at each other in what appeared to be surprise. Zorn's skin changed color slightly, a sign of distress Samantha had learned. This is not sanctioned by the full council, Zorn admitted. Supreme Commander Zaltak believes your species presents an immediate threat that requires containment. Containment? Paul asked sharply. What does that mean? Ambassador Mila's translator crackled as she spoke. It means they plan to force your species to remain in your home system. Permanently. Henry stood up straight, his diplomatic tone turning serious. We cannot accept imprisonment in our own system. We have the right to peaceful exploration just like any species. The first day of talks had brought cautious understanding. But now, with a fleet approaching and threat of containment hanging over them, the path to peace looked far more complicated. War seemed increasingly likely, whether humanity wanted it or not. The red dust of Mars swirled in the thin atmosphere as alarm sirens blared throughout the colony. Zaltak's fleet had arrived in Mars orbit, a collection of 27 ships with strange angles and pulsing lights. They made no immediate hostile moves, but their presence alone was enough to cause panic. Back on Earth, Admiral George Sullivan stood in the United Space Command war room. At 58, he had never expected to command Earth's first interstellar defense. Large screens showed the positions of human and alien vessels. Status report, Sullivan demanded. Our fleet is in defensive positions, reported his second-in-command. 6 warships near Earth, 4 near Mars. The experimental ship Defiance is patrolling the outer defense perimeter. Sullivan nodded grimly. 10 warships against 27. The odds were not good. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Daniel Brown watched the alien fleet with a mixture of awe and determination. His ship was Earth's newest, equipped with technology derived from studying the alien mining equipment abandoned near Saturn. They're not attacking yet, said his sensor officer. They're just waiting. Daniel tapped his fingers on the arm of his command chair. They're showing force, hoping we'll back down without a fight. He opened a channel to Admiral Sullivan. Permission to move closer, sir. I want to see how they react. Granted, Sullivan replied, but keep your distance. Don't provoke them. Meanwhile, at the diplomatic station, Ambassador Henry Johnson faced the alien delegation with new urgency. Your fleet threatens our Mars colony, he said firmly. This is not the action of a peaceful alliance. Zorn looked uncomfortable. Supreme, Commander Zaltak acts with support from many council members. They believe containing your species is necessary for galactic safety. Containment is imprisonment, Henry replied. We cannot accept it. Back on Earth, Dr. Nancy Taylor worked frantically in her lab. As the lead scientist studying alien technology, she had made a breakthrough just hours earlier. Their communication systems are vulnerable, she explained to Director Frank Cooper. They rely on a form of quantum entanglement we've only recently begun to understand, but there's a flaw in their implementation. Frank looked at the complex diagrams Nancy had drawn. Can we use this? Nancy nodded. I think so. We might be able to disrupt their coordination if they attack. Frank immediately relayed this information to Admiral Sullivan. Near Mars, Zoltak's fleet began to move. 3 ships broke formation and approached the Red Planet. "They're scanning our colony," reported the commander of Mars Defense Station. "Heavy scans penetrating our shields." Admiral Sullivan made a quick decision. "All ships, defensive positions only. Do not fire unless fired upon." On the diplomatic station, a new alien entered the meeting room. Tall and heavily armored, with red scales and sharp teeth visible when it spoke, this had to be Zoltak of the Dravik. "The time for talk is over," Zoltak announced. "Humans must accept limitations for the safety of all species." Henry stood his ground. "And what limitations do you propose?" Zoltak's translator conveyed his harsh voice. "No travel beyond your solar system. Limited technology development under Alliance supervision. All weapon systems to be dismantled." Paul. Garcia tensed beside Henry, his hand moving closer to his weapon. Henry kept his composure. "Those aren't limitations. They're a death sentence for our species. We need to expand, to explore. It's fundamental to who we are." "Then your nature is incompatible with galactic peace," Zoltak replied. Suddenly alarms blared throughout the station. Zorn received a message and turned to Henry with wide eyes. "Your ships have fired on our fleet." Henry looked to Paul, who checked his device. "That's not true," Paul said. "Our ships are holding position." But near Mars, chaos had erupted. One of Zoltak's ships had fired on the human colony, claiming it detected weapons charging. The Mars defense ships returned fire, and battle was joined. Admiral Sullivan watched the data stream in. "All ships, defensive protocols, protect the colonies at all costs." On the Defiance, Captain Daniel saw an opportunity. While the main alien fleet engaged the human defenders near Mars, he noticed a gap in their formation. "They don't think like us," he told his crew. "They fight with perfect formations and textbook maneuvers. Let's show them something new." Daniel ordered his ship to accelerate toward Saturn, seemingly retreating from the battle. As expected, 2 alien vessels broke off to pursue. "They took the bait," Daniel said with grim satisfaction. "Now for the trap." The Defiance plunged into Saturn's rings, a dangerous maneuver no human ship had attempted at combat speed. Ice and rock particles hammered their shields as they weaved through the debris. The alien ships followed more cautiously but still in pursuit. They didn't realize Daniel wasn't running away. He was setting up an ambush. On Earth, Dr. Nancy Taylor implemented her communication disruption plan. Using the few alien devices they had studied, she broadcast a signal specifically designed to interfere with the quantum entanglement the aliens used. The effect was immediate. Across the alien fleet, ships lost coordination. Some stopped moving entirely as their crews struggled to restore communications. Near Saturn, Daniel brought the Defiance around in a tight loop, using a large ice boulder for cover. The alien ships passed by, searching for their target. Daniel fired the ship's main weapon, striking one alien vessel from behind. It spun out of control, crashing into the second pursuing ship. Neither was destroyed, but both were disabled. "Target Zoltak's command ship," Admiral Sullivan ordered his fleet. "Use the disruption field." The human ships coordinated their attack on the largest vessel in the alien fleet. With their communication systems disrupted, the alien ships couldn't effectively protect their commander. On the diplomatic station, Zoltak received news of the battle. His scales darkened with rage. "Your species proves its danger," he hissed at Henry. "You attack with primitive but unpredictable tactics. We defend ourselves," Henry replied calmly, "just as any species would." Ambassador Mila, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "Perhaps there is another way, one that doesn't require either containment or conflict." Zorn looked at her with surprise. "What do you propose?" "Controlled integration," Mila said. "Allow humans limited expansion under observation. Study them before judging them." Near Mars, the battle had reached a stalemate. Human ships had suffered damage, but their unpredictable tactics had prevented the aliens from scoring a decisive victory. Captain Daniel's success at Saturn had disabled 2 enemy vessels without destruction. Admiral Sullivan received a transmission from the diplomatic station. "Hold position," Henry's voice came through. "We may have a path to peace." As the fighting paused, humans and aliens alike waited to see if diplomacy could succeed where force had failed. The galaxy was watching how humanity would respond to this first real test among the stars. 1 week after the Battle of Mars, representatives from all 17 species of the Galactic Alliance gathered on their central world, Viridian Prime. For the first time, humans were invited to attend. The great meeting hall was divided into sections, each tailored to the needs of a different species. The human delegation was given a small area with standard gravity and Earth-normal air. Ambassador Henry Johnson led the human team, which now included Dr. Gregory Phillips, Earth's leading historian. Gregory was a small, quiet man with kind eyes and a thoughtful manner. He had spent his life studying how human civilizations rose, fell, and changed over time. "Remember," Henry told his team as they entered the vast chamber, "we're not here to apologize for who we are. We're here to find a place among the stars." Supreme Commander Zaltak stood on a raised platform, his red scales gleaming under the bright lights. He still wore arm bandages from injuries sustained when his command ship was damaged in the battle. The fact that he could be injured yet continue to function was not lost on the Alliance members. "The human threat remains," Zaltak began. "They attacked our vessels with primitive but effective tactics. They disabled our communications. They rejected reasonable containment measures. They prove they are as dangerous as we feared." Murmurs spread through the gathering. Some species seemed to agree with Zaltak, while others looked uncertain. "Ambassador," Zorn spoke next. "The battle began with confusion on both sides, and the humans showed restraint. They disabled ships rather than destroying them. They protected their colony, but did not pursue our retreating vessels." Zaltak growled something the translators didn't catch. The Alliance Grand Council leader, an ancient being named Vox from one of the oldest species, raised a thin limb for silence. "We will hear from the humans directly." Henry stepped forward. "Thank you for allowing us to speak. The recent conflict was unfortunate but avoidable. We do not seek war with any species. We seek understanding." "Understanding?" Zaltak interrupted. "Your species adapts too quickly. You heal from wounds that would kill us. You survive diseases that would end our civilizations. You change and evolve faster than any species in the known galaxy. How can we understand what you might become?" Henry nodded to Dr. Gregory Phillips, who moved to stand beside him. "You fear what you do not understand," Gregory said, his voice gentle but firm. "You see our adaptability as a threat. But may I show you our history from a different perspective?" With permission granted, Gregory activated a holographic display. It showed Earth throughout different time periods. "Humans have fought countless wars among ourselves," Gregory explained. "We have nearly destroyed our civilization multiple times. But look at what always followed." The images shifted to show hospitals, schools, art museums, and gardens. After each disaster, natural or self-inflicted, we rebuilt. We created beauty from ashes. Our adaptability isn't just about survival. It's about creating something better from what remains. Gregory showed images of human medical facilities. Yes, we heal quickly, but we've used that understanding to develop medicines and treatments. We don't just adapt to survive, right? We adapt to improve life for all. Several Alliance members leaned forward, showing interest. "Our history isn't just a story of resilience," Gregory continued. "It's a story of learning from mistakes. We advance, quickly, because we've made so many errors and learned from them." Ambassador Mila spoke up. "But what assurance do we have that humans won't use their adaptability to dominate other worlds?" Henry stepped forward again. "We propose an exchange program. Allow human scientists and diplomats to visit Alliance worlds under supervision. Send your people to Earth. Learn who we really are before deciding our fate." The council members discussed among themselves. Meanwhile, Dr. Samantha Wright noticed something interesting. The Alliance species were talking to each other differently than they had before. Some were even standing closer to the humans than they had previously dared. Saltak made one final attempt to sway the council. They are unpredictable, dangerous. They should be contained until we fully understand them. But the Grand Council leader Vox raised a limb again. Fear of the unknown is not a basis for policy. The humans fought only when threatened. They offer exchange rather than demand acceptance. Vox turned toward Henry. We propose a modified agreement. Humans may begin limited exploration beyond your solar system, with Alliance observers. Cultural and scientific exchange will begin immediately. After a period of 50 standard galactic cycles, we will reassess. Henry looked to his team, who nodded in agreement. We accept these terms. Zaltak stormed from the chamber, but most of the Alliance representatives seemed relieved that conflict had been avoided. As the formal meeting ended, several alien representatives approached the human delegation with curiosity rather than fear. One young Viridian asked Dr. Wright questions about human biology with genuine interest. 6 months later, the first human embassy opened on Viridian Prime. Ambassador Henry Johnson stood before the unusual building, which blended human and alien architectural styles. Behind him, a mixed team of humans and aliens prepared to begin the real work of building understanding between very different types of intelligent life. Inside the embassy's medical center, Major Paul Garcia was recovering from an injury sustained during a training exercise with Alliance security forces. He had broken his arm in 2 places, an injury that would have ended the career of many Alliance species members. A group of alien scientists watched with fascination as Dr. Wright removed Paul's cast. The bone had healed completely in just 6 weeks. It still feels a bit stiff, Paul said, flexing his arm. One of the alien scientists, a Tressan named Valia, observed with wide eyes. Among my people, such an injury would be permanent disability. Your healing is remarkable, Paul smiled. It's just how we're made. Nothing special from our perspective. That is what makes your species both frightening and fascinating, Valia replied. What seems ordinary to you appears miraculous to us. Outside the embassy, a class of alien children listened as a human teacher told stories about Earth. Rather than focusing on human wars or disasters, she spoke of human creativity, art, and dreams of exploration. As night fell on Viridian Prime, Ambassador Henry stood on the embassy balcony, looking up at unfamiliar stars. Humanity's future among those stars was not certain, but the door was open. They had a chance to prove they deserved a place in the galactic community. We are adaptable, Henry whispered to himself. Now we need to adapt to being part of something larger than ourselves. A message arrived from Earth with good news. The United Earth government had approved funding for the first joint human-alien scientific mission. The purpose: to study how or different species could work together to solve common problems. The most threatening species in the galaxy was taking its first steps toward becoming the most helpful one instead.